We hope that our research will help young Asians realize how much they benefit from peace.
For a long time, the world's most deadly wars happened in just one region, East Asia. It consists of China, Japan, Korea, Mongolia and the 10 Southeast Asian countries. From the Opium War around 1840 and on, there were countless outbreaks of war. Between 1946 and 1979, more than 80% of all people killed in war was killed in East Asia.
Then, in 1979, something happened. The figures dropped. The countries stopped fighting each other, and you also had fewer internal wars. And if we look at the period since 1989, only 3.6% of those killed in the whole world have been killed in East Asia.
The Norwegian historian Stein Tønneson leads the East Asian Peace Program at Uppsala University in Sweden. For 6 years, he and his group of 25 researchers from Europe, Asia and America have tried to answer 2 questions. First, how come East Asia with such a bloody history suddenly stopped waging wars? And second, how stable is the peace?
Young Asians today tend to take the peace for granted, and who can blame them? They do not remember the Korean War or the Vietnam War. It did not happen in their lifetime. But they should realize that historically the peace in their time is unique.
Since turning to peace, East Asia in less than 2 generations has become the leading economic region in the world. This could not have happened without peace. But for 140 years the British, French, the Russians and the Americans as well as the regional countries fought in countless wars. East Asia was a powder keg. How did peace suddenly happen?
Let me tell you what I think. I think it has to do with national priorities and leadership. One Asian leader after the other took the decision to give priority to economic growth. The basic idea was make money, not war.
Japan was first. In 1945 it was a nation in ruins and had to form a new government. The Japanese decided to embrace defeat and focus on economic growth.
They did not seek revenge. They did not seek to build up their military again, but they adopted a peace constitution which prohibited Japan from ever engaging in war again and from having an army. This was written into the famous Article 9 of the Japanese Constitution.
In the 60s, other countries followed. South Korea and Indonesia abandoned previous confrontations with their neighbors and launched growth-promoting policies. Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore, Thailand and the Philippines formed the ASEAN, the Association of East Asian Nations. And Taiwan got rich while dropping its ambition of winning back the Chinese mainland. But what about the biggest nation, China?
Only after Mao had died in 1976 did the Chinese leaders really realize how far they were lagging behind other countries in the region. And then the change came. A new leader, Deng Xiaoping, came to power, and he carried out market economic reforms, and he studied the examples of Japan and South Korea.
And that was the dawn of the economic miracle in China. For Vietnam, it took another decade before the same thing happened.
All these policy changes have 3 things in common. First, the leaders decided to put economic growth first and therefore to have stability. Second, they all wanted to have good relations with the United States because they needed US investments, US technology and access to the American market. And third, they all learned from Japan. They followed the Japanese example, the Japanese model.
But what about the second question? How deep is the peace?
Unfortunately, it does not seem very stable or deep. There are a lot of conflicts still simmering that have been there for a long time. There is also still ongoing civil war in some countries, and there are growing nationalist sentiments in the region. So many young nationalists are now saying, we used to be poor, but now we are rich and strong, so we can take back those islands we lost in the past.
Numerous articles and books have been produced during the program, but the biggest achievement might be forming an argument for peace that will convince the young Asians.
Please remember that this century is the Asian century. The countries of East Asia are deeply integrated with each other economically and also with Europe and the United States. So the future of world peace is decided in East Asia.